Hello, hello, hello. My name is Bright Rose, and welcome back to another Remake the World video where I am going to be talking about how I like to make roads. And I could think of no other better place for me to show you the sort of look that I go for than the streets of my Hive City for my current build on the Relaxed Craft server. So, this is the sort of texture that I like to go for using mainly two variations of basalt, that being the normal basalt and the polished variety, with also some cobbled deep slate and a few little other blocks added in just to add a little bit more detail. So let's have a look at how I like to achieve this overall look. To show you how I like making these road textures, we've just jumped into a quick creative world so I can throw down a few blocks and show you the process that I go through to make these basalt textured roads. So I've just sectioned out a little area here that I'm going to build the road in, and we're going to start using some cobbled deep slate and some tuff. There's no real process to placing these blocks. We're just going to throw them round, roughly equal spaced, around the build, just where we want to add a little bit of extra texture that isn't going to be the basalt. Something just like that. Starting with the normal basalt, we're going to start placing it horizontally like this, with the occasional vertical bit, so we get this different texture cropping up like that. And what I like to do when I'm throwing this down is we can just switch up occasionally so we get these lighter areas that will represent more worn areas of the road surface. So there's no real rhyme or reason to doing this. It's just where you feel like you want to add it. And again, much like with the normal basalt, with the polished basalt, you can occasionally add in a vertical block like that just to add a little extra bit of texture. When I'm doing the polished basalt, I like to add little three wide areas like this. So it just looks like a little worn area, little skid marks, something like that on the surface of the road, just to differentiate it from the rest of the road surface. The only sort of rule I try to stick to when I'm placing things like this down is I try not to put too much noise in one particular area. So if I had a block like this tough, I wouldn't place another tough block right next to it. Similarly, if I was placing something like the upturned end of the basalt here, I wouldn't have another one too close to it like that, especially not right next to it like that, just because it adds a little too much noise that detracts from the overall look of the road. Further details you can add in if you want to, things like stairs along the edge of the road to just add little drainage ditches, things like that. And you've got other blocks such as these mossy versions of these stone brick stairs, or perhaps andesite, just to add in little colour variations and a little bit more detail like that. And if you wanted to, you could even add waterlogged stairs in this to show the drainage working. The final thing that you can add in onto the side of these roads is these little pavements, these sidewalks that go up next to the drainage down the side. And you can do this one of two ways, or both if you want, depending on how your build goes. You can either have them on the same level as the road, or you can step them up like this. Having them stepped up does add a little bit of difficulty when you're putting buildings and things like that next to it, because you are going to have this one block difference, which is ultimately mean you're probably going to have a slabbed floor in your building just to make ease of moving between. Or if you go up, you'll have that step up going into your building. But ultimately, that comes down to what it is you like to do. Both work. I personally like this little step up just to differentiate between the road surface and the surface of the pavement with the buildings next to it. But it's up to you. It works however you want it to. This is just two of the variations of how I like to put it down. So that is my little run through of how I like to throw down these basalt textured roads. It's really quick, it's really simple. If you've got yourself a basalt generator, you can churn out huge amounts of basalt that make throwing down these kinds of roads really quickly. And if you want to add a little bit more detail on top of what we've already gone over, you can add things like this. We've got dirt, we've got coarse dirt, and we've got mud as well, just to add these little grimy, horrible bits to the surface of the road, where maybe mud and other horrible things have washed in, been thrown down, and they're just covering your road surface. And this is what I like to do, and it adds a really nice texture just to these areas like this. So I hope this was helpful. If you want to see any more of my Remake the World videos, I've got a playlist. I'll drop it down below. Please do take a look. I'll be throwing more of these videos out from time to time, just walking you through how I like to make these little things to add a little bit more detail really quickly, really easily to your Minecraft world. So thank you very much, and I'll see you again in the next one. Bye bye.